Okay, we're going to do the tech-free paper from 2022. We're going to do question 12. Question 12, we need to be very careful because there's going to be a lot of A, B, C's and D's. So we need to be very clear. Z1 is A plus BI, Z2 is C plus DI. They're all reals. And Z2 doesn't equal 0. We've got the absolute value of them over one another. This one we've got the absolute values divided by each other. We need to show that they are equal. Well, first off, let's start Z1 over Z2. That's A plus BI over C plus DI. To get, let's do the division. So we multiply by the conjugate. We are then going to get AC minus ADI plus BCI. Oops, sorry, I'm doing vector stuff, aren't I? Minus BDI squared. All over different, oh no, it's not difference of two squares, is it? Yes, it is. C squared minus DI squared. So AC minus ADI plus BCI. I squared is -1, so they'll become plus BD. Over C squared. Again, I squared will become -1, so they're plus D squared. Let's split it to our real. So I'm going to have AC plus BD plus, I'm going to switch it around and make it BC minus ADI all over C squared plus D squared. Now I want the magnitude of that. So I need doing that. So that is going to be the square root of, let's do it as our two separate bits. AC plus BD over C squared plus D squared plus BC minus AD, oops, over C squared plus D squared squared. I've just split that fraction into the two parts. Big square root signs. Keeping track of what we're going to do. Now we're going to end up having AC plus BD squared plus BC minus AD squared all over C squared plus D squared squared. The reason I put it on a common denominator, because with my square root now, I can square root the denominator, can't I? So now my square root only applies to the top. AC plus BD squared plus BC minus AD squared over C squared plus D squared. Because the square root sign cancels with the squared out there. Now, we need to make a choice. Do we need to expand this further? We're just looking at the left-hand side, aren't we? So this is the left-hand side of what we're looking at. I'm going to look at my right-hand side and then decide if I wanted to expand that further. So I'm going to look at the right-hand side, which is Z1 over Z2, the magnitude of both. Right, so the magnitude of Z1 is going to be the square root of A squared plus B squared. Sorry, I'm just right here. The magnitude of Z2 will be the square root of C squared plus D squared. Straightforward. Subbing those in. Square root of A squared plus B squared over the square root of C squared plus D squared. may be helpful. It also would be the square root of a squared plus b squared over c squared plus d squared, if it's all under the square root sign. That looks fairly simple, and there's not really much more I can do with that. So I'm going to go back over to now look at the left-hand side again. Let's look at expanding that top row. It'll be a squared c squared plus 2acbd plus b squared d squared plus b squared c squared minus 2abcd plus a squared d squared all over c squared plus d squared. Doing my expanding, I can see that that's going to cancel with that, which is quite nice. And none of the others are really joined together, are they? So I've got, under my square root sign, a squared c squared plus b squared c squared plus a squared d squared plus b squared d squared all over c squared plus d squared. Now I've grouped them that way because I'm going to try and factorise. Oops. So on that top line, if I take the c squared out, I've got a squared plus b squared. And here, if I take the d squared out, I've got a squared plus b squared all over c squared plus d squared. Left-hand side continued. I can then factorise that to a squared plus b squared, c squared plus d squared all over c squared plus d squared on the bottom. So that's looking a lot better. I feel like I'm going in the right direction. And I look at what I want to make it look like. This was the right-hand side. So I need to make this look the same, don't I? So how am I going to do that? Well, what I feel I need to do is, I'm going to actually backtrack a little. I'm going to put this under the square root sign again, because I feel like I simplified a little too far. I mean, maybe if I didn't do this from the get-go, but I thought I was simplifying. So I've just brought it back under the square root sign and squared it, how it was originally. I can now see I can do some cancelling. That will cancel the squared off. And so then I am a squared plus b squared over c squared plus d squared. And that's equal to the right-hand side, which is z1 over z2, as you can see there. So that was quite a long question, lots of algebra and lots of expanding and factorising, and how to simplify it down. And that was question 12.